Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Dhena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Today's texts will be 5 and 6. Text number 5. The demigods replied, O exalted Brahmana, pious persons like you, whose activities are praiseworthy, are very kind and affectionate to people in general. What can't such pious souls give for the benefit of others? They can give everything, including their bodies. Text number 6. Those who are too self-interested beg something from others, not knowing of others' pain. But if the beggar knew the difficulty of the giver, he would not ask for anything. Similarly, he who is able to give charity does not know the beggar's difficulty. For otherwise, he would not refuse to give the beggar anything he might want as charity. Nunam swarta paro loko Naveda parasankatam Yadi Vedana yacheta Neti naha yadishvaraha Nunam swarta paro loko Naveda parasankatam Yadi Vedana yacheta Neti naha yadishvaraha. Neti naha yadishvara nunam. Certainly. Swartapada. Interested only in sense gratification in this life or the next. Lokaha. Materialistic people in general. Na. Not. Veda. No. Parasankatam. The pain of others. Yadi. If. Veda. No. No. But if the beggar knew the difficulty of the giver, he would not ask for anything. Similarly, he who is able to give charity does not know the beggar's difficulty. For otherwise, he would not refuse to give the beggar anything he might want in charity. He might want as charity. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Chanakya Pandit says, San nimitte varon tyago vinashe niyate sati. Everything within this material world will be destroyed, and therefore one should use everything for good purposes. If one is advanced in knowledge, he must always be prepared to sacrifice anything for a better cause. At the present moment, the entire world is in a dangerous position under the spell of a godless civilization. The Krishna consciousness movement needs many exalted, learned persons who will sacrifice their lives to revive God consciousness throughout the world. We therefore invite all men and women advanced in knowledge to join the Krishna consciousness movement and sacrifice their lives for the great cause of reviving the God consciousness of human society. Nam swartaparo loko naveda parasankatam yariveda nayacheta neti naha yad ishvaraha. Those who are too self-interested beg something from others, not knowing of others' pain. But if the beggar knew the difficulty of the giver, he would not ask for anything. Similarly, he who is able to give charity does not know the beggar's difficulty, for otherwise he would not refuse to give the beggar anything he might want as charity. It's a natural tendency, or a rephrase, it is the natural tendency of living entities to give. Therefore, we see that they're looking everywhere for places to give. Recently, when I was walking in the botanical gardens in Fort Bragg, California, Northern California, and I came to a little bridge over a stream, and they had put inventive kinds of signs in various parts of the botanical garden to instruct people what to do or not to do. And on the bridge, it said on a little plaque, "No coins necessary to operate stream." Everywhere in the world, when people see a well or a stream or a pond, they come and they throw coins in it. And ostensibly this is to bring good luck. There's some sense that if I throw something in there, I give some part of my wealth, then something good will happen. It's very similar to the kind of instinct that we have, or the motion that we go through when we offer something into the sacred fire, or swaha, and then it feels good to throw something in. As Prabhupada mentions, we can't see God with our eyes, but this is a very obvious form of the Lord consuming things, the form of this fire. And there's a kind of satisfaction that we get when we're giving over and again, swaha, throwing in. The difficulty for living entities in the material world is that they don't know where to give in order to get real benefit. Therefore, Krishna aligns us in the Bhagavad Gita by saying, Bhoktaram Jagatapasam, that I'm the person to give to, because I can take it, digest it, and then give it back to you in the proper way. It's also confirmed in the Srimad Bhagavatam that by giving to Krishna, it's like pouring water on the root of the tree, and then all the branches become and leaves are satisfied naturally. And our Krishna consciousness movement is also a movement of giving and taking, as mentioned in the Upadeshamrita by Rupa Goswami, dadati pratagrinati. So dadati means to give in charity. In fact, sampradaya, the idea of it is that this is the ultimate giving. This is what the word means, to give the ultimate gift. It's a bequeathment. We're passing on something, or not just something, but the most valuable thing that can be had by living entities, sampradaya. And it's complete, the complete giving. And everyone's lined up beginning with Krishna, who we just recognized as the most magnificent. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho. He's an ocean of giving to even the most fallen. And so from his mood comes down through the disciplic succession this idea of giving to as many people as possible. Now, there's a sense in which one should be qualified to give. It's not so easy to give in general unless one cultivates the sense of not having anything and that understanding that everything belongs to Krishna. Prahlad Maharaj mentions this in his prayers to Lord Nrsimhadev when he says that the giver to Lord Vishnu is not doing something for Lord Vishnu, he's doing something for himself. And he gives a comparison of one who decorates his or her face and then looks in the mirror and sees that the reflection is also decorated. He said, in a similar way, we are like reflections of Krishna, or his parts and parcels. So Prahlad Maharaj is saying that when we give to Krishna, then we feel more whole. We actually become ornamented by that giving, which is counterintuitive to the materialistic mind, which is fraught with the idea of survival. In the material world, the idea is ahastani sahastanam aparani chatushpadam balguni tatra mahatam jivo jivasya jivanam. Srimad Bhagavatam says that one living entity is food for another. In order to survive, I have to take the bodies of others and eat them. I have to guard my wealth and so forth. So the natural instinct and the bodily conception of life is to try to protect everything that one has. We see in the pastime of Bali Maharaj this tendency of Shukracharya. Vamandev came to ask charity from Bali. And actually, he's described as the most beautiful of Krishna's incarnations, little brahmachari, effulgent, wearing a little deer skin. No one could resist him. And he came into the assembly of Maharaj Bali, who was performing a huge sacrifice. Actually, it's described later that when Bali Maharaj saw this little brahmachari, he was already surrendering himself within his heart. But he couldn't do so fully and demonstratively because he was surrounded by his friends who had a vested interest in the sacrifice and in him maintaining his position as the emperor of the worlds. But that's what his predisposition was towards Vaman. And then Vamanadev glorified Bali Maharaj. He mentioned his lineage. He talked about the glories of Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaka. He said Hiranyaka was so great, he just carried a club and he challenged everybody in the whole universe. And everyone was afraid of him. But to speak of Hiranyakashipu, he said Vishnu was so afraid of him, he entered within his heart to get away from him. So he couldn't find him. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, actually, he entered within his heart out of compassion for this demon. And he went on speaking in sweet words, this beautiful little brahmachari, and then he said, I just want 3 paces of land. That's all I've come to ask for. And Bali Maharaj said, that's not a good thing to ask. He's being very gentle with this little brahmachari. I said, you know, I'm the emperor. You could ask anything. Please. Somebody must have misinformed you. I could give whatever you want. You ask more. And Vamandev resisted. He said, if I wanted more than what I need, then I wouldn't be satisfied if you gave me more. Bali had said, I'll give you an island. Why just 3 paces of land? And Vamanadev said, if I'm not satisfied with just the land that I can lie down on, peacefully. And even if you gave me 3 islands or the whole world, I wouldn't be satisfied. And being charmed by Bali Maharaj and being inclined in his heart to give charity. He agreed, but then Shukracharya said, "Don't do it, you fool. You're a rascal." He said, "You're going to ruin everything. Because this is Vishnu. You don't know this, that he's going to take everything away. And we have a deal here." We have something going on. Every living entity has a little deal going on in the material world. In fact, Prabhupada mentions in the 5th canto of the Bhagavatam, near the end of creation, Sankarshanas, seeing how he's given so many opportunities for living entities to wind up their business. Everyone has some little business here in the material world they're running, a little chip in the game. And he gives an opportunity, so many great opportunities, to give up this meager little existence and join the bigger program in the spiritual world. But then he becomes a little annoyed that the living entities haven't taken it. And in his annoyance, from his eyebrows burst out the Rudras, 11 Rudras, and they begin their dance of destruction and burn down the universe. And Prabhupada mentions in his purport there that every living entity has an opportunity to wind up his or her business here in the material world. I always think of those little shops in India. I don't know how they stay open, but they are lined up sometimes along streets. Just a little wooden shop, and all they have is little packets of pan. Is it pan or pan? Whether it's a tall building in New York City, everyone thinks this is a big deal, but from the perspective of eternity and our true interest of serving Krishna, it's just a little pawn shop. And it's got little packets of pawn hanging down. And even you think, oh, I'm making billions of dollars, it's just insignificant. And so the living entity holds on to this paltry existence. But the Lord's so kind. It's like with Bali, he comes and says, "Here, I'll take it for you." And in this section of the Bhagavatam, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that initially the Lord, who's so kind, his name is Hari, he takes away our miseries. Money. And then as one advances in spiritual life, one sees the real risk is not having time for spiritual life. So in the beginning, one thinks that spiritual life is all risk and no gain. That's what the materialists think. That's why they don't stop if you're on the street corner in Manhattan, if you've ever experienced this. Austin? I saw him out there the other day. And people may or may not stop. There's like, I don't have time for this, to look into anything like that, like the Bhagavad Gita. It's a risk for me. I got things to do, and I got to make money. And I have to keep moving. They think it's all risk and no gain. But those who become pratigranati. One of the ways in which Prabhupada describes this don't ask people is an implication there that it's a moral principle not to ask. But the devotees on behalf of Vamadev, in the same mood of Vamadev, they do ask people, hey, just give me three pieces of land, that's all I ask. And is it, for instance, is it moral for the devotees to ask? Well, they have to be qualified. One has to be a qualified asker. It means that I don't have a vested interest. If I don't have a vested interest, in front of the Jagannath Mandir. Every year we go on our Puri Yatra in February, and we have a big Harinam Sankirtan outside of the Jagannath Puri temple. And at the same time, during our Yatra, we call it a Sankirtan Yatra, because we do Sankirtan, Harinam everywhere, and we also distribute books and prasadam. And so in front of the Jagannath Mandir was a riotous performance. For anybody to take a book is when you walk up, you take off your shoes first. You just flip your shoes off, and as soon as they see you flip your shoes off, they flip their shoes off. And then they understand something very serious and spiritual is going to take place. Then you hand over the book. And if you don't speak the language, then we hand them a language card that lets them know that we would like some charity given back. So there I was in front of the riotous Harinam going on, and amidst all this strum and drung, what happened was, as I was I'm not asking for me. I'm asking for Krishna. This is our yatra. We're giving the money to the BBT. It goes into spreading Krishna consciousness, so I have every right to ask you. And now the people are intrigued because they're thinking, who's going to win this battle? There's a big, huge American standing there, and shaved head and tilak, and people chanting Hare Krishna, and he's distributing books about Krishna, and here's a genuine Jagannath Puri beggar who has every right in her profession to ask everybody for donations. So who wins the fight? pile of change. And there, by this time, there was a crowd of people around watching, and they went, "Yay!" And it wasn't that I was rejoicing in that I had won this fight. It wasn't a fight of ego. But I was very certain that I was asking on behalf of Krishna. And she also felt it, did the beggar, and so did the people. They saw this is properly aligned. And so when we go out into the world, because people don't know where to give, they just throw their money wherever they can. They're thinking, here's a little place, I'll throw it here. They're not sure. They need information about the Yajna Purush, where to put their money. And the devotees have to be representatives of that Yajna Purush. In fact, when I asked for donations, and yesterday this happened several times because yesterday was a busy day. I had 5 Uber rides yesterday. And in the process, 4 Uber rides, right? And distributed 5 books. And 4 Uber. Everybody got a book. And 2 of them gave donations. The other 2 I didn't ask, and one of them got 2 books. So when I had presented the books to these people, the first 2 cab rides, interestingly, were people from Brazil. And they were spiritually inclined. So I handed over a book. And I let them know right away, so it wasn't a surprise at the end. I said, here's a spiritual book for you. And I said, we don't sell it. We ask for donations. We don't need the money. The only reason we ask is when you give something in return for spiritual knowledge, it's a no feeling that I need anything in return, and then asking on behalf of the previous teachers, and being very certain in myself that I'm handing over. Didn't I give you the Lakshmi last night? I handed over my $7 to put in the... And that's important. It has to be everything, all the energy taken from the people on behalf of Krishna has to be properly put into the stream that goes into the Yajna Purush, to his lotus feet. And then this spirit of dadati pratigranati, that you're giving dadati, you're giving charity like anything. From Hare Krishna, that they give and they give and they give everywhere they give. In fact, one day I was walking along, 1976, and a police car pulled over. I said, "Hey Krishna, come here." I walked over and I was like, "Yes?" And they said, "You got any of that candy stuff?" I said, "Yeah, sure, here you go." And they go, "Thanks." And then they took off. And so we should be known as givers. We should have that reputation that these are the givers. They give everywhere. And we should also be so aligned properly that the taking is something that is people understand from our demeanor and from the way we live our lives, that this is a place to give. And this helps society to have the givers who also will take on behalf of Krishna. because they're so cleanly in line with the Lord and His purposes. So those are a few ideas, and we have 7 minutes left, so we'll take some reflections. Any thoughts that came up in the process of reading this verse or hearing the monologue? Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for a beautiful class. You're speaking a lot about being qualified to be a giver. And I was wondering, being a part of like a compassion movement like ISKCON, many of us may not have our own compassion, but we feel because we're a part of a compassion movement and we're doing compassionate acts, then that kind of makes up for our own lack of compassion. So similarly, when we're giving on behalf of Krishna, at least theoretically, we may not be qualified in terms of consciousness per se, but we're qualified because we're connected to a movement that is qualified. We're connected to persons who are qualified. But I often wonder how that might impact the interactions that we have with others when we're not actually qualified in consciousness. And so we may present ourselves as givers of charity from the Yajna Purusha, but we communicate to people that we're egotistical, we're self-righteous, because there's something that's not there in consciousness. So I was kind of wondering if you could speak to this idea, or if I'm even correct, or am I...
You're very correct, and it's such an astute question. My reply is that Sankirtan is high sadhana. Going out on behalf of the Lord, even in a neophyte condition, even in unrefined consciousness, is a high sadhana. And why? Because and if they're sincere, then that becomes self-correcting. For instance, I remember once that I became angry at somebody in the St. Louis airport. And for the next hour, as I was walking around trying to present books, people looked at me and they go, "Nuh-uh." I was thinking, how did you know? They just look at me and go, "You're polluted. I don't want to, stay away." And I realized that living entities, they're called sentient because they're sensitive. They know these things. Even animals, they say the animals sense fear. And living entities, they look and they sense detachment. Mercifully give their feedback. They'll look at you. Even so-called materialistic people look at you and go, "You're a rascal." I can see it, and they go, if you're sincere, you go, "You're right, I'm a rascal. Thank you for correcting me." You know, we take this instruction from our environment. I wanted to mention one other thing about giving, and that is that preemptive giving is one of the great desires of the devotees, to develop the capacity to give to Krishna. And preemptive giving, I say, because ultimately everything's taken from us. And therefore, it's kind of a game that will you give it away first, or will you have it taken from you? Now, here's the rules of the game. If it is taken from you, you don't get any credit at all. But if you, through the spiritual practice, develop the capacity to give more and more away of what you have to Krishna, then you get all credit. Therefore, Krishna, throughout the Bhagavad Gita, recommends such things. Yet koroshi rashnashi yet johosi dadasi yet tapasasi. The most important thing, I had a lot of things in there. My pen, somebody had given me a pen, all gone. I asked the monkeys, "Did you take it?" And they said, "We didn't do it." And when something's gone in India, it's gone for good. So, what did I do? I walked back to the ashram, which was about an hour and a half in a gamsha. And my body language said, "Yeah, I'm a sadhu. This is what I do." But when I got back to the ashram, I had a stark realization. Normally when I stay at the ashram, I give a donation to the Mahant, the Sikh Krishna Prabhu, before I leave. the more things will be taken from me, and I don't get any credit whatsoever. Yes?
Just one comment, online. He says there is an absolute benefit in contributing, even unknowingly, to a Sankirtan devotee, in purifying oneself and in contributing to the Sankirtan Yajna, which is purifying the worldwide atmosphere.
This is absolutely true. There's proof throughout the Shastra, from Guru Sadhu Shastra, that even persons who...
Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, hey, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman.